Hey,
Hi,
Sanjay.
Lovena. Hi.
What a
Good
joy and what a pleasure to be moderating your session. And what a surprise too.
Yes, I thought it was Sandhya, and then when you popped up on my screen, this is
Oh,
amazing, right?
oh, great,
I
great.
mean, a few
I
weeks back, we're
knew,
having.
I
Okay,
knew, but I didn't
okay.
let you know because I thought maybe you wouldn't. But then I thought you would have seen by now.
No, I've just been too busy,
Okay,
working on. I moderated a few sessions yesterday, and I think it was a great experience. It was
great,
such a
great.
wonderful experience to talk to all the speakers.
I know. All right. Anyway, so let's get right into it.
Right.
And welcome to this session, Sanjay, where you're a speaker and you get center
Thank you.
stage. And everyone, thank you for joining us at this session at the Women Economic Forum's Global Digital Summit, Bangalore 2020, the first ever Digital Women Economic Forum. And my name is Luvina. I'll be the moderator for this session, speaking with Sanjay Vaswani, who is an HR consultant and also a talent and organizational development expert. He also focuses on inclusion a lot in your work. And today, however, we're speaking on a very interesting topic, and I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong. It is on androgyny. Is it gender neutral or a gender neutral mindset? So, Sanjay, over to you.
Thank you, Lovena, for the introduction. And I would also like to thank all the attendees for being here. I'm really excited to be here and speak about this topic as it's very close to my heart. In the next 15 minutes, I would like for us to explore three things. The first is what are the notions, what are the ideas, the mindsets or the biases that generally people do have about androgyny, and what is the reality. I had my own bias about what I thought androgyny was, during my college days. And I'm glad that a lot of research has helped me understand what androgyny is. And hence, I would like to present that to you. The second thing that we want to explore is now that we understand it, how do we take this learning and build inclusive teams and organizations? And finally, I would like to end it with a bit of my personal learning, which could be your point to view. A few days ago, I put up an Insta story asking people what's androgyny mean to them and what's the first thing that comes to their mind when they think about the term androgyny. I got responses like fluidity, just be, embrace your gender, special people, non-binary, yin yang, women with short hair, men with long hair, being bisexual, Karan Johar, and freedom. The one that really reached out to me was freedom, because a lot of people on my Insta story said androgyny is about freedom. And that made me really pause and also made me realize that I definitely need to speak on this topic and put my ideas out there, because there is a lot of misunderstanding about what androgyny really is. So a woman with short hair, is that androgyny? A man with pink shirt, wearing a pink shirt, is that androgyny? Or a woman who appears to be like a man, is that androgyny? Or a man with a nose ring, is that androgyny? Or a woman riding a bike with a leather jacket on, is that androgyny? Is all of it androgyny or is none of it? Well, the first thing is to define what androgyny is. And in simple terms, it comes from the Greek word androgyny, andro meaning male and gyne meaning female. It is about a person who has a characteristic of both the male and the female. And it's really as simple as that. But what has really happened is that we have looked at it from a gender identity perspective and a gender expression perspective. And this is where there's a lot of confusion between what is androgyny, what is gender identity, and what is gender expression. Now, gender identity could be your binary, you could be binary or non-binary. Binary is, male, female. It's a very monolithic way of looking at a gender. And a lot of us subscribe to this because maybe it's comfortable, maybe because that's how the society has designed for us to think. But we need to understand that the identity comes from two aspects. One is your physical imprint, and the other is your mental imprint. The physical imprint is about the body. It's about the hormones, it's about the chromosomes. It's about what's happening and the physical form. While the mental imprint becomes very important, because the mental imprint is about the essence that you feel. It's about the emotion. It's about how do you feel being in your body. What is the mental imprint? And sometimes the mental imprint also gets construed by society, by culture, values, philosophy, upbringing. And these are the other external factors that drive a mental imprint. But what is most interesting to me is that sometimes a person may have a mental imprint that's more feminine in nature, but because the society tells me that I need to be a man and boys don't cry and I'm supposed to act a certain way, I might be suppressing my mental imprint. And to live with that on a daily basis might not be the most healthiest things to do. It also makes me think that sometimes people who have a very strong mental imprint, maybe that is what really drives them or pushes them to say that, I cannot live in this body like this and I need to do something about it. And maybe that's why they look at options like a sex change. So we need to understand that gender identity comes from your physical and your mental imprint, while the gender expression is about how you express your identity. And this has nothing to do with androgyny, right? So let's not confuse androgyny with gender identity and gender expression. These are three different things. Now, an androgynous person could be binary or non-binary. An androgynous person could be straight, gay, bisexual, queer, non-binary. Not all androgynous people are non-binary, and not all non-binary people are androgynous. The other thing that we also do is that we mistake the whole idea of androgyny, and we look at it in terms of, hey, you look so androgynous, or the androgynous fashion is something that I like to follow. Now let's understand that the androgynous fashion took a form when Coco Chanel decided that women need to start wearing pants because the men were at war and the women had to step out to go to work and they needed something more comfortable. And which is when Coco Chanel designed pants for women. And then later on, when there was a short supply of fabric, they decided to make the pants a little shorter and tighter. And that took on a whole new agenda of androgynous fashion. We also have rock stars like David Bowie, Jimi Hendrix, Annie Lennox, John Travolta, Madonna, and Lady Gaga. And they all seem to promote what we call as an androgynous look. And this is where the media has misinterpreted what androgyny is. I have androgynous friends who actually feel very offended if you tell them that you look so androgynous, or hey, what do you think about androgynous fashion? What these people were doing, and perhaps what Jimi Hendrix or Annie Lennox were actually doing, is they were just tapping into something which I call the male and the female energies. It's about tapping into your own resources and understanding that you could tap into the male form and the female form and express yourself. You wake up a morning and you decide how much of a male energy or how much of a female energy that you want to tap into. And I think that's when creativity happens. I think that's when innovation happens. And I would like to use this to see how organizations can bring in individuals and employees and create a safe place where, as an employee, I know I can walk into my company and I'm allowed to tap into my male or my female energy, tap into these channels, and do work that's more creative, do work that's more meaningful, and truly build companies that are innovative in the truest sense of the word.
That's great, Sanjay. I was actually it's very interesting that you connect both the expression along with how an organization would actually tap into that creativity for productivity. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. And this is just one thought, but what happens is, let me tell you a story about when I speak to my androgynous friends, what do they have to say? Well, I spoke to a few of my androgynous friends, and they're the lucky ones who have learned to accept their bodies. But things that they go through on a daily basis, at the table, the waiter calls me, sir, or at the table, the waiter calls me, ma'am, and then my friends try to defend me. And that's a very painful process for me to witness on a daily basis. Or, when I step out to go shopping to a mall, or when I'm at a checkout counter, people are always looking at me, they're trying to second guess. And I feel like I'm being scrutinized. I feel like my space is being trespassed. And sometimes I even feel naked, right? So androgynous, so being androgynous is not about fashion. It's not even about fluidity. It's not about a neutral mindset. Androgynous persons, like I said, they can be straight, gay, bi, queer. They can be anything that they want to be. Some have learned to accept it, and that's great. And I'm fortunate that a lot of my friends have gone through that process, and they accept themselves for who they are. But I was reading an article at medium.com, and Lovena, one of the things that really hit me was an article where this person who's androgynous had to put on 100 pounds, had to grow a beard, and was forcing to look like someone that he didn't want to look like. because he felt that was the only way for him to be accepted by the society. And,
such a painful thing. Very painful.
Exactly, right? And imagine what a painful process that should be for an individual. So this is where the issue lies. We base, we create, should I say that we build stereotypes based either out of our convenience or our limited knowledge. So because it's convenient for me, or because I come with a limited knowledge, I tend to box people, I tend to stereotype people. But I think I fail to realize that every time I'm stereotyping somebody, I'm actually taking away a part of their identity from them, right? And this could come either from my conscious bias, or it could come from my unconscious bias. And I think this is something that we all need to keep in mind, that every time I stereotype, every time I'm trying to box somebody in, I'm taking away a part of their identity. And maybe when everybody's trying to stereotype me or boxing me in, they too are taking away a part of my identity. And I think we come from that as a basis of an understanding. We will be more tolerant, more we would accept each other far more better than we are. And this is just another point of view.
Yes, very true. But we usually see androgyny also in terms of fashion, right? And that's when you said about the expression bit of it. But then from what we're understanding now from this conversation, that androgyny has got a little bit, it's a little deeper. It's much more than just your dress sense or your expression. And I'm very curious. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the point. Androgyny has got nothing to do with fashion. It has got nothing to do with fashion. Now, an androgynous person might want to use a certain fashion style, which we all do. We all have our own sense of presenting to the world, and that's fine. But it does not mean that just because you see someone who's not androgynous, you call that, oh, that's an androgynous fashion, or that's, an androgynous look. Because the androgynous people, they hate it, they actually get offended, because androgyny is just about, it's just a very natural thing. Androgynous people exist, just like non-androgynous people exist. We are all trying to find our meaning and our place in the world. It's just that, and there is nothing more than that. So androgynous has got nothing to do with this. Unfortunately, what happened is the media and the pop star culture presented androgyny in a very different light, and that's what we think it is. But it is actually just about a person being born with a definite form. I mean, either my shoulders are broader, my hips are narrower. So it is to do with your bone structure, it is to do with your physical form. And there are people who are given this physical form, who have learned to accept it and make best of it. And there are people who live their lives on a daily basis, being judged, being ridiculed, being questioned, being second looked at. And I think that's where the issue is, that we forget that, if I have to put it in a very simple way, if humanity was a tree, androgyny would just be a part of a leaf of that tree, right? And even when I look at corporates, right, I'm blessed because we work a lot with a lot of our partners who are doing some amazing space in the inclusion area. However, I do feel that we need to run twice as faster as we are, because we have a lot of catching up to do. The other day, when one of the clients came up to me and they said, we want to build an ally network. Now, can we run a campaign to build an ally network? And I said, running a campaign might not be the solution here, because I really don't want to come to you telling you that I am a minority and hence I need your support. Instead, I want you to, instead, if I could educate you, if I could inform you, and if I could help you understand what the issue is, so that you bring your authenticity and you bring your understanding, and you support me, because you too have been treated as a minority in some way or the other, maybe in a different aspect or area of your life. And I think that's when we are actually going to create allies. That's when we're going to create true ally networks. And I would hate for us to go out there and say, oh, I'm a minority, I need your support. No, we're not a minority and we don't need support. We need to understand that all of us are in this together, that all of us have been minorities in some way or the other. A cousin might have said something to you and that might have made you feel horrible about yourself. At some point, we've all gone through, some issues. And I think to be able to own that and say, I want to come from a deeper space of understanding. And then if I am defining something, I know where that definition is coming from. And
very true, Sanjay. In fact, something that you said reminds me now of what inclusion for it to be more as proactive inclusion. The inclusion needs to come from a space of I begin it, I initiate it, instead of someone asking for it, because there is always that power dynamic and that structure. And also, this thing on stereotypes then about even if it's androgyny, the stereotypical understanding of how someone masculine should be dressing up versus how someone feminine should be dressing up. Whereas you could feel completely feminine, but your preferences may be to dress up very in the stereotypical masculine way, right? And that is neither nor or either or.
Right. And that is just your expression, right? And your expression has got nothing to do with androgyny. And that's why I think we need to understand androgyny, identity, and expression, right? I need to first understand my identity, which comes from my physical and mental imprint, and my expression could be anything. I choose what I want to wear. I choose, and expression is not just in terms of fashion. It's not just in terms of what I'm wearing. It's also in terms of my ideologies. It's also in terms of my value systems. It's also in terms of my philosophy, my worldview. We all have a worldview. And I think expression is, we cannot just limit expression to fashion here. I think expression is all of this. It's about how you connect with yourself and how you connect with the world. And I think even in the inclusion space, rather than sensitize people on LGBTQA+, if we build awareness, I don't want you to understand it, but I want you to first look at it from a bigger perspective of identity and expression. Because once we all start looking at it from that lens, I think we will truly understand what gender identity is, what expression is, and how each one of us are struggling in our own ways, or maybe we're not, but each one of us, we've gone through our own process where we had to understand what is my relationship with my body. I need to understand what's my relationship with my body. I need to understand and I need to be sensitive to my own self before I start becoming sensitive to other people. But how do I get sensitive to other people around me if I do not approach myself with sensitivity? And I think that's where that's where the work needs to be done. And it's a lot of homework, of course. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of talking to people, having a more open mind and going out there and saying, hey, that's an interesting point of view. And I think that's the only way that we can truly push ourselves to see how we can evolve as better beings.
Right. So Sanjay, we've got about 5 more minutes, and I was wondering, if you'd like to speak on anything else on the topic. But I'm curious about one thing though. You said something about philosophy, your own ideology. Sorry, and I'm curious to know if if you would be willing to share a few thoughts on what amounts to that. How androgyny fits into an individual ideology, because at this point I would have thought ideologies are very personal, but then are they actually general, focused? Or are they influenced by gender?
So I think ideology is something that's very personal, right? And I think when you look at ideology, you also need to see where is your ideology coming from, what space are you operating out of. I'll give you a very simple example. When I was in my college days, I remember there was a phase when I went through this whole metal band era, and my friends and I were headbanging on Metallica and Iron Maiden. And there was a time when I was introduced to a very different sort of fashion as compared to my school days. And I remember buying these, metal rings and lockets and saying, this is what I'm going to do now. And this is the philosophy that I want to buy into. I think I was also very fortunate that my parents, they never really stopped me from doing things, but they gave that space and that freedom, saying, he will figure it out on his own, and let's give that space and let's watch. I mean, of course, they were watching over me, but at the same time, I felt that this is great. Till one day, I realized that there's something just not right about it. Maybe it was really like literally a pain in the neck, because every night we would headbang in the morning, we would all wake up with a pain. But jokes apart, I think it's also about the inner voice, and sometimes it could be your inner voice, or sometimes it could just be being open to someone's ideas or suggestions. And I think it was a conversation with my family that made me realize that these rings are not who I am, and I'm just trying to become somebody. And I think that's when I put those rings away and gave them away to my friends, who are more than happy to have them. So I had a very wrong notion about what androgyny was, because I was introduced to androgyny in in a very different way. Till I actually started doing my research and going deeper into the subject. I logged onto Twitter. I was trying to see, what or how do androgynous people feel about androgyny. And that's when I realized that my ideology then, had I not changed it, so the ideologies can change based on your experience, based on your, what I call the guiding star. So sometimes it's your gut feeling. Sometimes it could just be that, you do it in a very mechanical way and tell yourself, I think I know about this subject, and this could be like a Johari window. It could be like a blind spot. And maybe I need to throw myself a little bit more out there and become vulnerable and see what that can do for me. And then later I can choose and I can pick and I can decide if I still want to say that is my ideology, or do I want to change my ideology? Now, I'm not saying that ideologies change every Sunday, just like, curtains do or bed sheets do. No, that's not what I am referring to here. But I think it's very important to pause, reboot, reset, and reinvent ourselves. This morning, Lovena, when I was having chai, I was thinking, as a moderator, I asked my panelists a question yesterday, which was about how do we deal with this in a VUCA world? How do we deal with leadership in a VUCA world? And that really got me thinking that this whole VUCA has gotten into my head a little bit more than it should, because everyone in the HR industry is using VUCA today. And VUCA scares us because we're talking the industry is volatile, the industry is uncertain, the world is complex, the world is ambiguous. And I said, how about I create my own mental imprint, and I'm going to substitute VUCA from today, from this morning, and say, VUCA for me is V for vulnerable, that I'm going to start becoming more vulnerable than I am. I'm going to push my vulnerability, and I'm also going to allow other people to come into my space and be as vulnerable as they want to be. I said, I'm going to substitute you for understand. I'm going to operate from a view that people understand me and that I understand people. And when I operate from that space, something different might happen. C, connectedness. I'm going to start connecting a lot more with tuning a lot more into my body and my mental imprints to find out or to discover, to explore, what am I feeling and what is it that I want to work on and what is it that I want to work with? What projects do I want to take up? What assignments, whether it's on a personal or a professional level? And how do I want to really connect with myself and connect with people around me? And the fourth one, A, appreciate, which is to start my day with gratitude and end it with gratitude. So VUCA today for me has become vulnerable, understand, connect, and appreciate. And I think if we create this new VUCA, I do feel that, and I do hope that we can all use the time given to us, the energy and the resources that are given to us to build communities, organizations that are inclusive in the truest sense of the word.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. I think you must have seen me quickly taking notes. That was a very new, acronym of understanding what your VUCA stands for. And I really like that, vulnerable, understanding, connectedness, and appreciation. And, and it's so beautifully, seamlessly also that you've tied up what we started off with, androgyny, versus where we are now, because it is that connectedness of our mindset, it is a connectedness of who we are and who we allow each other to be. So thank you very much, Sanjay, for that very enlightening and very inclusive conversation. And on that note, I'd like to, on behalf of WEF, also let you know that WEF confers upon you the wonderful award of Iconic Leader, Creating a Better World. And thank you, Sanjay. It's very well deserved. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you so for everything that you have been doing. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Here's my claps for you for the award. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, and looking forward to see more and hear more from you, and for more acronyms and for the work ahead as well. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me here. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to be part of WEF. And thank you all very much.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, Devashish. Hello. Hi. Yes. Just give me a moment while I pull my screen up. Hello, Debashish. I'm Luvina, and I'm going to be in conversation with you for the next 25 minutes or so. And welcome to the Women Economic Forum. Welcome to this session. And I was very curious and very interesting while I was reading your profile and about the topic as well, responding to digital disruption. And everyone, we have with us Debashish Das, who is the Business Development Manager, who also focuses on entrepreneurship, human rights, conflict resolution, and disruptive innovation. And there's a lot more on his profile that you can have a look at. But when it comes to conflict and disruption, I think it has got my attention. So Debashish, over to you to take over. Let us know what this is about and also how we respond to digital disruption and what it is.
Thank you for a nice introduction and warm greetings from, I think, a little bit cloudy Germany now. I'm sitting in Düsseldorf. You can see all green around, but it's a little bit cloudy today. Today's topic, I hope you can hear me clear, right? Yes. Today's topic is digital disruption and how we respond to it. This topic is very important and getting more important these days. You know that we are going through a pandemic now. People are trying to think of business, trying to think of how to sustain their livelihood or even buy foods and essential services through online channels or digital platforms. So digital as itself, as a topic, was never so important as now it is. So even in my company, in my personal life, I'm struggling with it. I mean, we all are struggling with it, and how to respond to these digital disruptions is something the traditional businesses, the traditional industries are always thinking to it, but sometimes they have a clue, but nobody's sure what is the right response to it. So today, what I would do is, my agenda would be to first talk a little bit about a case study, and then go and explain a little bit about the past waves of digital disruption that has happened. And then this new wave of digital disruption that's happening now, then I will move to a recipe for digital disruption, which we all can try. We don't have to be inventors or engineers to be a digital disruptor. And finally, when you are disrupted, your business, how are you going to respond to that digital disruption? Disrupting is great. I mean, everybody can try to do something disruptive in your family. There will be a person who is always disruptive. But then how to respond to that digital disruption to create a nice balance is also important. And if you think now we have a pandemic and we don't have a vaccine. So this is, if you consider the pandemic as a disruption and the vaccine as the response to the disruption. So if you need both to have a balance, otherwise the world goes out of the balance. So now the case study is very unique. And before the case study, let me first unclutter some myths we have about disruptions. We think that startups actually disrupt the markets, but that's not the case. In the end, it's we, the consumers or the customers, disrupt the market. If the consumer decide that, hey, we don't want the smartphones anymore, then nobody can sell smartphones. If the consumer say that I'm tired of all this ad coming in on a smartphone, I need my peace of mind and I want to keep my smartphone out of my sight, then it's you cannot disrupt anything with smartphones. So this is all about customers. So the myth that startups do disrupt is wrong. It's we, the customers, who disrupt the market. It's our need that disrupt the market. The second myth is that technology alone can disrupt markets. So if I'm not a technologically savvy person, I cannot disrupt anything. That's also not true. The real disruptive ingredient in business is the real business model innovation. So you can use your existing business model that you have, and you can innovate that business model to disrupt. So it's not that you have to bring a rocket science into it. It's just innovating your business model could be the greatest ingredient for disruption. And the third myth is that people think that, okay, smart people understands where to disrupt and what not to disrupt. But that's also not really true. There is a common approach to digital disruptions, whether it's Bill Gates or whoever it is, they have a common approach. And that approach is very simple. They think that you require to understand your consumer value chain. If you don't understand your consumer value chain, you don't understand where the pain points, where you can change, where you should update, upgrade, you won't be able to disrupt anything. So the basic thing is, the better you understand your consumer value chain, the better you're in a position to be an innovative, like entrepreneur or a disruptor. Now, I'm coming to now this exciting case study, which is taught in every business school everywhere. And you might know about Netflix. Netflix started 5-6 years back, and they are now a giant. I mean, when they started, people thought, hey, what they're going to do? They're just another video provider. But what happened is how they played the game. So Netflix was just providing video, but their video was provided through the internet provider called Comcast. And Comcast was giving this high-speed internet connection, which is needed to give a high-quality video. So now Netflix was growing, and Comcast said, hold on, we're giving these guys internet connection, and they're making the money, big chunk of the money. So they said to Netflix, hey, Netflix, you should pay us more, as we are the suppliers to your business. You need to pay for the bandwidth you use to show good quality videos to your customers. And then Netflix said, oh my God, now the big wave comes. Now we are going to be ripped off. What can we do? But then they were smart. They analyzed the data. They saw that the customers of Comcast who are actually observing Netflix are paying to see this good quality. They don't like Comcast. They want to see Netflix. That's why they're taking Comcast as a supplier, because no other vendors, no other suppliers, internet supplier is providing Netflix. So they turned the table. They say, actually, you know what, Comcast, you should pay us, because the only reason people are upgrading to your faster internet is because of us. And then this battle goes on. Oh, so this blur line between who is your customer and who is your vendor or supplier, this customer-supplier relationship, they put into the turntable. So that's what is the disruptive thinking. And then what happened finally is very simple. Long battle went on, and then they said, you know what? They come to an agreement. Let's agree that no one pays the other, because we are both making money. We're coexisting. So this is something is very important when you think about disruption, because you need to know who is your customer and who is your supplier, and what value you're creating for your customer, and what value the supplier is creating for himself and also the customer. So now that's the case study gone. Now we would go a little bit deeper into the waves. The first wave of digital disruption started in 1994. It started with media and content. To give an example, New York Times, they had news articles, they had classified ads, they had restaurant reviews and everything. But then the process of unbundling started. Unbundling means the news articles are being taken over by Google. You search any news, you can get in Google. And then the classified ads were taken by Craigslist. And then the restaurant reviews were taken by Yelp. So the entire newspaper, where you have a lot of this classified information, then restaurant reviews, news articles, being unbundled by different players. So they came to know how they did that. They understood that some customers don't want to need this information on classified ads and restaurant reviews. They just need good information and good news. So Google decided, hey, come to us, type what you want to know. We give the updated information, news. So Google took it. That's again because they understood the customer need and the customer value chain. Again, Craigslist said, hey, I don't care about the news and everything. Customers who just want to have an ad, maybe a bicycle, secondhand bicycle, they should come to us and immediately type what they need, and they should find out. So that's they considered only on classified ads. And then Yelp did on restaurants reviews. So that was the first wave of digital disruption that happened, which we call unbundling. Then the second wave came in the 2000. That happened in travel and financial service industry. That's called disintermediation. Take, for example, a travel agent. You used to use travel agent to book your hotel, book your activities, book your flight, everything. And they used to charge a huge amount of service because you didn't have any access to anything. So you have to go to the travel agent. Now what happened is, with this internet being so prevalent all over the world, people now started thinking, the business now started thinking, hey, I'm Hilton Hotels. Why should I have to pay a lot of money to these travel agents all over the world? Because they book the hotels for us. We can have our own website available for booking. Same did the airlines. And then there were a lot of local guides and event planners. They say, hey, we know our city the best. Why do a third-party person in so-and-so country would decide what they have to show us? We want to show them what is best for us. I mean, and then there were local events and guides who can post their own websites, and people can access and book their plans, activities. So this whole process of travel became disintermediated. It's not anymore unbundling, but disintermediation. So you have exactly separated business coming out of it. And then finally, what's happening is this third very fascinating wave coming up. It's happening. It's happening in the electronic, consumer goods, transportation businesses. This is called decoupling. What they're doing is, for example, you have this value chain of customer, which is very common. It's same for everybody. You first evaluate a thing, you then choose the thing, you purchase it, and then you consume it. This is the Gita of the value chain. I mean, you evaluate a product, you choose what you need to, and then you purchase, pay this, and then you consume it. Now, what decoupling does, take an example, Amazon. Amazon says, Amazon has A to Z, a mark. Amazon say you can choose your product anywhere in the world, retail shop, showroom, wherever. But when it comes to buying, purchasing, you purchase on here, online, because we give you the best price. So that's why their business model is decoupling this value chain from choosing and purchasing. They say choose anywhere you want, but buy here. So the normal process that you choose, you go to a shop, you evaluate different brands, and then you choose one, and then you go to the counter, you pay, and then come home and consume, is disrupted here. Because now you're choosing in the shop, but you're not buying there. You're coming back home and buying in Amazon because you know you get the best price there, which you don't get in the retail. So you can choose, you can look around, try around, but when it comes, you buy it on Amazon. It can be your suit, it can be your frock, anything, or even your sari. So this is what Amazon is doing. It's called decoupling. Again, there is a value chain here from evaluate and choose. There are some companies like Birchbox who say that, okay, you can choose your lipstick, your ointment, your anything everywhere, but then you have to use it, and then if you don't like it, then you throw it. So it's a waste of effort and money. So why not? They say that before you choosing, evaluate with us. So they will send you for $5 a small box of different new ointments and products that's coming up in the market as a sample. So you don't pay, you just pay €5, you get all these products, you try it, little samples, and then you like it, and then you go anywhere and buy it. So they say you can buy anywhere you want, but when it comes to evaluating, use us to evaluate the product. So here again, you see the decoupling, the connection between evaluating a product and choosing a product. This is how the disruption is happening. So you're not evaluating with Birchbox, and then if you like this product, you buy anywhere. You go to Sephora, you go to Mac, you buy it. But first you need to evaluate. So there they found the need and they decoupled it. And there's some companies like Zynga, video games. So now there are lots of video games in the world, and you don't know, unless you play it, you don't know which you like. But to play it, you need to have to pay for it. You buy this expensive video game. Now Zynga says that, okay, good. Between this, the value chain of purchase and consume, you don't have to purchase first. First consume, and if you like it, then pay. And even if you don't like it, don't pay. So people are just being their members, they're playing it, consuming it, and then if they really like it, they're buying it, or even something that I don't need to buy, I just play it, whichever I like. But how their business model happens is that they're earning their money from not for the customers, but from the people or the companies that are sponsoring ads. So their value chain, they're giving the value to the customers who are consuming the product before purchasing it because they don't know whether they would like it or not, but their real earning is coming from these video game manufacturers or the sponsors who are doing the ads and everything. So these are the different way of thinking. So, I mean, that's how they're disrupting it, by decoupling. Then, now I'll give another example of decoupling in practice in insurance. For example, the insurance process is that you procure an insurance, you sign up for insurance, you pay for a premium and cancel insurance you don't like. It's a lengthy process. Now there's a company called Trove. What that does is, they say you can insure on the go. So you are traveling with your backpack, you have a nice expensive camera, and now you're traveling all over Europe, you have no problem of getting it theft or stolen. But now you travel to Mexico perhaps. Now you're a little bit scared. Okay, it's not that I don't like it. Maybe I'm not good enough. I mean, I may lose my camera. Then they can just toggle their smartphone. Okay, I'm reaching now Mexico. Now I'm insuring my camera. Done. And once you leave Mexico, you just again toggle back, and your insurance is stopped already. So it's digitally done till the moment you are there in the country where you feel a little bit that you needed insurance. You can insure it. So you can choose all the different kind of items you have. You can put it in the list in your app, and then keep insuring it when you go, and de-insure it. So you're saving money actually, and the hassle of every time applying an insurance and canceling it. So this is how they're again decoupling this practice of buying insurance. Another good example I will give about Zomato, Swiggy, Lyft, and Uber Eats. They have also studied the value chain very, very nicely. They know that customers visit a restaurant, choose a menu, enjoy food, and pay for it, and then return home. So they say that, hey, do not visit the restaurant, choose from the menu through the app, and pay through the app and enjoy food at home. So they're decoupling this entire value chain. If they didn't understand the value chain properly and where the customer needs the value, you cannot decouple it. So Swiggy, Tomato, Lyft, and Uber Eats, there's so many other local players everywhere in the world, they're doing it, and it's so easy. Now, these are the disruptions happening, and I will give another last example of decoupling, which is called in accommodation industry is happening. I'll give you Couchsurfing. Couchsurfing is an interesting company here. Usually, you search for a location, you choose a hotel, you choose a room, and then pay for the room. And they said, hey, I do it differently. I would not search for a location. I would search for a host. I would not choose a hotel. I will search for a home. And if you have a host, you don't pay a host. You are a guest. So you rather stay or share the room or a couch for free. And how you pay it in return, you become the host next time to somebody, pass it over to somebody else. So you host somebody else visiting your house. So if I'm living in Düsseldorf and I'm the host in this app, you found me, you like my house, you like my family, you want to spend the day here. So you fly in here, you don't have, and I'm your host, I sponsor you, you stay with me, I show you around, or even give you a guide, you do it. And then next time I visit Bangalore, so you do the same to me, or maybe it's another person you do it. So it goes around this cycle, so you don't pay. So they're decoupling here. Okay, share a room, but you don't pay for the room. Rather, you give accommodation in return. So this is, again, another fantastic business model, how you're decoupling a value chain. Now,
it is, it's brilliant. It is. And yes, you're welcome to Bangalore.
Sure. And so now the point which comes up is that today's most dangerous disruptors are not just stealing customers, but rather stealing customer activities from the incumbents. So you have to be careful that it's not the customers that are going away. The customers are going away because the customer activities are taken away by somebody. If you call them restaurants, you want to go to the restaurant, but you get the nice food, hot food at your home. So you don't need to go to the restaurant. You don't need to go dress up. You can be comfortable in an ambient dining table and can eat with your family or friends, and you don't have to cook. So this is something is very interesting that they're stealing the customer activities. And then, so what we can do, all we can do for the benefit of customer is one of the three things, is like create more value or reduce value charging activities. For example, the insurance example I gave, or eliminate value eroding activities. For example, you evaluate something and then you cannot evaluate, you buy something expensive and then, oh shit, I don't like this product. Rather than you evaluate for a small amount of money and then if you like it, then you buy it. So you actually, in doing so, you're eliminating the erosion of like value. And this is what how you measure your customer. You can measure your customers, how they're paying you in three ways like this. Monetary cost in terms of how much money they're paying, time cost measured in hours and days, because you have to also take care of how much time they're spending, and then the effort cost. For example, these are measured by elementary information processes. So these three things you have to keep in mind when you're thinking of disrupting something, is how much money they're paying and how much time they're consuming to get the service and how much effort they're paying. So people forget about the effort. So when it takes more effort, people get bored and then they go move to something else. If you can catch or tap all these 3 points in your business idea, then you're better positioned to be disrupting or stop disrupting. And then the last thing, what I would say to respond to disruption is you have to recouple things. If somebody decouples things, you can recouple things. I'll give an example. There is a nice example of Amazon again. Amazon says, okay, choose everywhere, every retail store, but buy from us. So what these retailers do, they have nice storage, nice presentations, nice mock-ups, displays, but nobody buys from them. They're just buying from Amazon. So there is a company called Best Buy. They said, guys, welcome to visit our store, but you need to pay just for seeing it. So $5 you pay just for looking around, and you need to pay it. And if you like something and buy something, then we deduct it from you. So they are, in a sense, stopping the customer from just window shopping and not buying. So that's how they are stopping Amazon also, because they come and say, oh, price is small, then I buy Amazon. But then if you pay $5 in advance, then you need to buy something, and that makes their value. And there's a company called Costco. They said, hey, we'll give you great deals on branded products, but you need to have a member, an annual member for us, and they have a membership fee. And Costco gives really good deals on branded products and a very cheap price, but you cannot get those unless you become a member, and they charge €50 or $50 a year. So they're making that money by increasing their membership. And of course, they're selling the products at a lower margin. Doesn't matter, they also make money there. So there is, when you're decoupled, you also have to think how you can recouple it back to create the balance. So, and another great example would be Best Buy, what they've done. They have a huge place of digital displays for Samsung, watches and TVs and everything. But people are buying again online, in Samsung's maybe website or in Amazon. So what they say, they went to Samsung, said, guys, we are giving you a display for free. Your products are displayed here for free. Your customers come here, look at the products, and then go to your website and buy it, or to Amazon and buy it. So why should we display it here? You rather pay us for putting these displays here. Mm-hmm. And in the end, this battle between Comcast and Netflix happened. Samsung decided, yes, we'll pay you for the display. So now Best Buy is making money for the display. They don't care if the customer buy or not, because they're making their money there, because they're getting their money anyway. And sometimes customers do buy it also. So that's how you're recoupling when you're being decoupled. This is the response you can do. And the other thing is coexistence. Means before somebody digitally disrupt you, you think to disrupt yourself. The best way to respond to disruption is you disrupt yourself before somebody else comes and disrupts you. So that's a way of thinking. So, and you can do that again, because if you know your value chain, and you, as a customer, you can think, hey, if I'm a customer, this is my pain point, I want to change this. And sometimes because you're so comfortable doing the business for 50 years without being challenged, that you don't want to do this change. And this comfort zone is the killer. If you yourself start doing this disruption, then there is no way others would come and disrupt you, because you are disrupting yourself and creating the great value. So this is what I would end is capture value at every stage you create it. So don't wait to capture value at the end of the customer journey. Capture wherever you can, and also try to disrupt yourself to make it a better product for your customers. And in the end, you know your value chain the best. So that's what about digital disruption and how you can respond to it.
Oh, Debashish, this was such an informative and such an educative session. And I was, it was almost like a punchline, but I was taking those notes and I was thinking in my mind, I was like, what Debashish is saying is that we need to disrupt ourselves. And then you said it. I said, oh, this makes sense, because especially in the current time of the pandemic, is with businesses who have gone and done things the way they've always done and been very complacent in that without, and then all of a sudden something, the change happens, but people who have had that, so now I understand the digital disruption bit of it, people who had that digital disruptive mindset did plug into what the customer need was, whereas businesses who weren't necessarily on the pulse or ready for it felt a little out of the spot. And it makes so much sense. We do have a few minutes, and I really wanted to check with you, Debashish, for what is the mindset then when businesses who are not aware of this, businesses who are not with the mindset of how do I, because the comfort zone can be very restrictive. It can hold you there, and it will refuse to let you think that, I have another way. You feel that this is the only way things have to be done, and if I don't do this way, everyone else is competition. So that coexistence is, or even disrupt yourself. How do businesses actually do that? How do they get there? How do they start making those baby steps to disrupt themselves?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question and a classical question that we all struggle with. And my advice is, like, even coming here is to talk to like women entrepreneurs and people who are interested in building their own business. Is a word of mouth. You have to spread it, that it's not rocket science. It's not something bad for you that you lose it. It's good for you because it's life's easier. It makes your life easier. If you make it more digital, even your workload goes lower, because you can have your dashboard, you can get all the information, finance, everything. There's lots of advantages to be digital savvy. And there are a lot of people who are working the back ends to make this like inexpensive programs, which you can buy very cheap. And at the way they can support those small businesses, at the same time, you can focus your time in thinking what is good for your customers. So what I suggest is, first think in the customer's shoe. So if you are the customer of your own product, how would you like to have it? And if you are like to having it like that, but don't think that all customers are like you. Think about how your daughter would think, or how your grandpa would think if you're a customer, how different sex, nationalities would think about your product. So if you're thinking in India terms, then only think, but you can think also the international terms, like how the Japanese would think about your product. This way, the more you think, the more ideas you come up, and there is no bad thing about a bad idea. So any idea can be good. So what we do, is that there is never a bad idea. Even if there is a bad idea, you not say it's a bad idea. You add on to it. And you ask questions, okay, great idea, but how about this? How about this? And automatically, when you do a brainstorming in a positive note, the bad ideas automatically run down because you're doing it in a positive way. So this, even the most comfortable, the person who wants to be in the comfort zone can also be raised to an uncomfortable zone if you ask the right questions in a nice way, in a positive way. And most important thing is how you can excite people around you. That, hey, we need to be young. We need to be young at mind. It's not that we're comfortable, we're grown up, that we cannot disrupt or do something differently. But the more you bring that like inquisitiveness in you, to learn, to figure, and to think in terms of your customers in different time zone, different age zone, different like location zone, you would come up with ideas that would love to follow, because then the adrenaline jumps in. Hey, this is something I want to do. Then your comfort zone automatically becomes out of the window, and you become comfortable being uncomfortable.
It's the charge of innovation.
Yeah, my life is like I'm 40 now, and I left India when I was 22. So I got a scholarship. I went to Japan, and I didn't know. I've never cooked myself. I've never stayed out from a home, and Japan was such a different country from me, and I was out of my comfort zone. I cannot find my food. The language is, I don't know, just I got a scholarship, I went there. But that changed my life. And then now I'm in Germany again. So after like 18 years of being outside of India, I feel comfortable being in the uncomfort zone. I think I don't feel it's uncomfortable anymore. There's nothing uncomfortable. So this is something, once you keep doing things, take challenging things, automatically you feel comfortable being in the uncomfortable zone. And that's what should be the attitude.
True. Also, I think innovation and that discomfort, or being comfortable with the uncomfort or discomfort, is something that we are also sometimes, if we like it or not, we're dragged into it. And then you have to innovate. Either you do it willingly, or the universe conspires to make you. Exactly. On that note, I want to share, there was some notes in the chat, and there is someone who says that Harvard Quality is oozing out of Debashish, and that was something very interesting, very nice. That they've taken note of someone else before someone else disrupts you, disrupt yourself. I think, Debashish, that is something that I am definitely taking with me. And yes, thinking into design, that we must do things very differently. Thank you very much, Sheena, Sakina. There are so many of you in the audience, and thank you. We have 2 minutes if anyone would have a question for Debashish. And Debashish, I must thank you anyway for a wonderfully enlightening and interesting session, especially for so many of us who are not necessarily who don't think this way. So, and to listen from you and to hear these words and know that it's not that difficult. It's not rocket science. It's something that we can do. It's available and accessible to us. So, yeah. Debashish, I would like to take this moment to let you know something very interesting. That is on behalf of the Women Economic Forum, for all the work that you do, for the brilliant sense of education, for the understanding, for what you have been doing all this time, for what you go ahead to do. Women Economic Forum would like to confer upon you an award of the iconic leader creating a better world. And on behalf of all the women at the Women Economic Forum and the men, congratulations and well done. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks a lot. Have a nice remaining of the seminar and the conference.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.